Hi, my name is Patrick Henry Dowell. I am a member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, and I also am employed by the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. I work in the new housing division as well as a food historian for the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. And today we are going to be preparing one of my grandmother's favorite meals. It's called catfish stew. You can do it with any freshwater fish, basically, is what we did. By being landlocked, we grew up either on the river or around ponds or small lakes. And so freshwater fish was always abundant for us. And so instead of frying it, a lot of times we try to find different ways to be able to incorporate fish into our diet. And this is one of the ways that she found to do that. And it's a very simple recipe. We have several, just a few ingredients that we're going to be using. We're going to be using a local farm-raised catfish, and we want to thank Mr. Ray Lowry for that. We're going to be using two different types of cornmeal, a white and a yellow, and they're medium ground. Usually during this process, when we would harvest the fish, she would take the heads and the bones, and she would put it in a pot like this, and she would start breaking it down, making a broth out of that. And she would incorporate different herbs when she did that. Well, several herbs that we're looking at using today is we have the Dogfennel, we have the wild sage, we have rosemary, and we have a wild leek. We also have some wild onions here that we're using as well too. And so there again, and it's basically simple. We're going to build a cornbread dumpling with the cornmeal. We're going to incorporate these two eggs with that, approximately 3/4 cup of each, the white and the yellow cornmeal. And then we will add some seasonings to the cornmeal. We'll add a little bit of broth to that or a little bit of water, either one, and we will start patting those out. But in the meantime, before that, we're going to go ahead and season our fish. And the first thing we want to do is we want to hit it with some salt and pepper. We're going to put it on this skillet right here, and we're going to just give it a quick saute. Nothing crazy, but just enough to give it a little bit of color. As you can tell, the heat source we're using today, we're cooking this over coals. But we can use it of course, in the comforts of your home. We can use it with a controlled temperature, like a stovetop. And today we're also using cast iron, as you can tell. This is where the finished product will go in. This is the cast iron we're using to actually sear with. So, of course, in a home, you can use a saute pan, and you can use a pot, regular pot, to cook this in. We'll be patting out the cornbread dumplings by hand. This dish is going to be almost, the best way I can describe it is almost like a homemade lasagna. We're going to put a layer of fish, we're going to put a dumpling, and then we're going to put a layer of onions. And we're just going to continue that up till we're finished with our product. So that's another thing too we like to do. We like to layer the flavors. As you taste the dumpling, you're going to get a firmness, you're going to get a texture there that's going to be not doughy, but you're going to have that cornbread, you're going to have that firmness of that. It's going to offset, or it's going to balance the fish, which is going to be a lot more delicate. It's going to be more so broken down. So you're going to have some sweetness from the catfish, you're going to have that firmness from the cornbread dumpling, and you're going to have the pungency and the earthiness from the different types of herbs that we have. So we'll go get started by breaking down our herbs. I like to have everything prepped, like to have everything on hand instead, because this dish is going to go quickly, and we don't need to be trying to prep while we're searing the fish. I'm an onion lover, so for me, you can't never put enough of onions in it. So, but we're probably going to end up with probably somewhere around 1 cup to 3/4 cup of wild onions. My grandmother used to make her own cornmeal. So her early crops would be usually white corn. The later harvest would be usually a yellow cornmeal. So we had both. She had a tendency to use both together, because the white that she would make early would be a lot more delicate, so it would be a lot more finer. And the yellow would be had a lot more body to it. So by her mixing them together, they had a tendency to help hold up even when she was frying cornbread or making dumplings. I really like to incorporate the the tops of this too. This gives it so much more color. As you notice, this has a pungency to it, so we're going to limit how much we use of this. We use it somewhere probably around starting with a 1/4 teaspoon of the wild leek. Almost looks like capers in a way. We'll start here with the rosemary. Pull the leaves off the stem. Rosemary has a very earthy smell and taste. To me, it adds so much depth to a plate, especially when you are using a poultry or even a fish. But it just has such an earthy comfort food level. So, and this is what this is. This is comfort food at its best. So this is sage, wild sage. It too has a very earthy taste with it. So we're going to chop it together. So we have pungency. We have an herb that brings pungency. We have 2 herbs that's going to bring some earthiness. And we got the last one here, which is also going to have a level of pungency as well. This is the wild fennel. As you can tell, these are like little pods. So what we like to do is we like to bust them because there's so much essence in there, the oil. It helps release the oils that's on the inside. Now we're ready for dumplings. We got 1 in 1. Go into our pot. Got an egg. And if you notice, being out here today in this heat and this humidity, some things is going to be degrees of difficulty can change. Meaning I might have to add a little bit more cornmeal to get the texture I need. Whereas if you're in a home in a controlled environment, you wouldn't need to do that. But the texture we're looking for a thick, bendable, but yet firm dumpling. So when it goes in to cook, it holds together. A little bit of herbs in here with this. This has a tendency, this could be, take a little bit more water. So we're going to start with approximately around a cup of water. We're going to add some salt. Use some pepper. If it's looser than what you want, you can always add a little bit more cornmeal or water, whichever way you want to go. Big controversy here about down here in the South, what we consider dumplings, what we consider pastry. Our folks here consider a dumpling cornmeal in liquid. A lot of folks in the South consider dumplings flour in a liquid. So we're doing about an 1.5 inch size ball. And basically what I do is I just press, and if it releases, like right now it released and still some in my hand. So we want to add just a little bit of water. Press and release, that's what we want. This is one of the first things I learned that our grandmother would actually let us help with in the kitchen. So it's been doing it probably 45 years. So, and these work better if you make them ahead and put them in the refrigerator for probably an hour. Let them stiffen up a little bit. We're now ready to start searing some fish. We're going to hit that with some salt and pepper. Now, this is the magic. This is rendered bacon fat. So we add this for flavor, but also this is what we use for our saute item. Skillet's a little hot, so we're going to pull it off. Let it rest here. sear. I've seen it made with largemouth bass, sunfish like brim, crappie. Add a little water. Add water just to give it a little bit of steam. Actually helps cook the fish a little bit better for me, and keeps it from breaking apart. It's so delicate. We're good to go with our herbs next. Just a little bit of herb. Then our onions. Then our dumpling. Again, we'll start with one more piece of the fish. We take the fish and go right on top of the dumplings. We'll start our layering again. Get our onions. And our dumplings. If your dumplings come apart, you can just roll them back up, put them right back together. Now to finish this off, we're going to take some vegetable broth. Since we don't have, usually what we would do would be, like I said earlier, take the bones, fish head, and we'd make our own broth. But since we don't have that, we'll take that and we'll use a nice vegetable broth. You just want to pour it to where it coats the fish, and then we want to cover. Let me just slide over towards the fire. I'm going to bring some pieces around here. And now we wait. And we'll know it's done when the dumplings become good and stiff, and the onions become translucent. The broth will start thickening from the cornmeal, from the dumplings as well, and the fish will become more delicate, more broken down. And that is how y'all make Grandma Esther's fish stew. Thank y'all for watching.